Hey everybody, so we're here with Missy, our co-founder and producer. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So earlier today we were walking around and you wouldn't believe who we saw walk right by us with his two bodyguards. Roger Stone in a white suit and his characteristic owl glasses walked right by us. We nodded to him, but we didn't stop him. I didn't have any business cards on me, so there would have been no upside to asking him for an interview.
But now we know he's out here. So the
Yeah,
next
now
time we see you.
now we know he lives around here apparently. So I've got a new neighbor. Roger Stone. But no, I should have, in retrospect, I should have given him a business card and invited him on this show. But I was out of business cards. It wasn't meant to be. I'd given the previous
For
one
now.
away
Yeah.
hours before.
Yep.
So just let that be, let that be a notice how valuable these business cards are.
They're
Yeah,
great.
yeah, they're a hot item. Willy Wonka ticket. So,
Speaking of gold.
yeah, speaking of gold, as we end the week, it's now headed into Friday. Seeing further vindication that I might be right about my view on the market. And I'm not the smartest person, and I'm certainly not the most motivated investor. But I think if you have to sit at a computer right now, 9 to 5, in front of some big monitor, some curved screen, and you got to look at the curved screen and hit refresh constantly to see Trump's latest his latest crazy posts on True Social, his tweets. I mean, that's no way to invest, and I feel sorry for younger investors. And the old saying is sell in May and go away. Everybody knows that, sell in May and go away. And we're only 6 days away from that. And maybe I didn't time it perfectly because everybody, I think when they cash out, everybody wishes they had done better in the casino. No matter how well you do, you wish you were walking away with more. And here, I just truly don't believe in this American stock market in a way I've never not believed in it before. Because we never had a president just actively sniping value on his True Social page, just picking an industry, aiming for it, and then sniping at it with new tariffs. It seems like complete insanity. And you wonder, why is it that no previous president took it into his own hands to decide on a daily basis the tariff rate for 180 countries that we interact with? And now we know why. It's like the reality of America is everything here is made in China and Indonesia, and actually that's it pretty much. And so it's a nice storefront. The US is a great storefront, and we have the rule of law. We have investment rules that put us above most other countries. And that's why people come here. And that's why they park their money here. They don't park their money here in the US because they think that we're better at building stuff. We haven't built
Mhm.
stuff in a century. And so this is shaping up to be such a misstep. And I've given it time. It's not like back in January I was anti-tariff. I didn't even, it wasn't my focus at all. Yeah, so that's the great secret of America is we don't make everything here. We just have better rule of law and a respect for property rights and a heritage of respecting people's rights. And so I don't know. I mean, the stock market today went up, and I'm perfectly fine tuning things out until, I don't know, the fall, maybe next year. And so maybe there's some upside that I'm missing out on. But I truly don't believe it's a win in life to be tied to a chair, refreshing Orange Man's tweets all day to see if today the market's going to live. Is today okay or is today bad? There's a reason why no other president did this, and that's because it destroys your faith in the market. Like, I really don't want to invest in quantum computer companies because the quantum chips, I don't know what the import costs are going to be. I don't want to invest in literally anything. I mean, the most like abstract company you can think of still relies on imports in 100 ways that you can't even conceive of immediately. And so it's so disastrous, and it's really not what people are asking for. We're asking for lower taxes, not a Great Depression. And anyway, so that was my decision as I cashed out. And maybe I'm off by a couple of days. Again, the market rallied today on the basis of absolutely nothing, which is another warning flag, another red flag, money being made for nothing. Just because today people think maybe he's not going to be as bad as he says he's going to be. That to me is not a good bet. maybe the person who keeps saying the same thing is not going to do what they say they're going to do. Okay, maybe not, but that's not a way to invest. And so let's see here some of the headlines that have guided my kind of decision here. Lately, I take just screenshots of these apocalyptic headlines to reassure myself that uh, my compass is not off. Like, this is actually a crazy time for the country. So here we go. Here's an article from Axios. Bessent confronted Elon Musk. So Bessent is the Treasury Secretary. Bessent confronted Elon Musk, and a source said the F-bombs started to fly. Bessent criticized Musk for overpromising and underdelivering budget cuts with Doge. Musk clapped back by calling Bessent a Soros agent. Bookmark that. World's richest man calling the Treasury Secretary a, quote, Soros agent and accusing him of having run a, quote, failed hedge fund. A failed hedge fund. And then the article notes, Trump has praised Bessent's financial acumen. The argument was so heated that an aide stepped in between the two men to separate them. It took place within earshot of Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who was visiting Trump that day. Two sources were overheard. Let's see what's going on here. Two sources were overheard the argument. They recalled that at one point Bessent yelled, "Fuck you," and Musk replied, "Say it louder." So this is in the White House, folks. You got the Treasury Secretary yelling across the room, "Fuck you" to Elon Musk, and Musk saying, "Say it louder." That night, Trump loyalist Laura Loomer got in on the action and began torching Bessent on X for allowing an unrelated Trump hater into Treasury for a financial literacy event. Yeah, I've been saying this on the podcast nonstop is why is George Soros' former right-hand man running the Treasury Secretary at Trump's pleasure? It's so insane to me. It blows my mind, right? Because people on the right hate George Soros. And it's like, why is his protege running our government's Treasury Department? Like, how is that MAGA? So here's another tweet or another piece of content. This is a clip of Howard Lutnick on TV right behind Trump as Trump is signing stuff at the Oval Office. And so Howard Lutnick says, all those factories you're bringing in because of your trade policy, we're going to train people in tradecraft, bring back tradecraft to America so people can work in factories with great paying jobs. We're going to train them. This guy's completely insane. He hasn't worked in a factory a minute of his life. Howard Lutnick has worked in financial companies in New York City, sitting in office buildings, including way back when the World Trade Center before it went down. Cantor Fitzgerald was one of the top tenants in that building. And Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary for the White House, says we got good factory jobs ahead and they're going to train you. So after they decimate the economy, they're going to train us how to make these iPhones really well. We're going to make them here in the USA. Then we have another headline. U.S. companies are declaring bankruptcy at the fastest pace in 15 years, according to S&P Global. So new bankruptcies, fastest pace of filings in 15 years. That's really annoying, right? That keeps trying to switch microphones. I don't know why. And then here's just some guy on Twitter that got a bunch of retweets. Eric Boehm. I don't know who he is, but he tweeted out, I don't think the average American has any clue about what's coming. So far, tariffs have been a story about stock prices and 401ks. It won't stay that way for very long. And that's in response to this headline. In 3 weeks since the tariffs took effect, ocean container bookings from China to the U.S. are down over 60% industry-wide. And then we have another headline out today for the financial community. 42% of mortgage refinance applications are being denied, the highest rejection rate in at least 12 years. So people trying to refi their mortgages getting rejected by their banks at the highest rate in at least 12 years. This is all 2008 all over again. I know you're a few years younger than me.
Just a few.
But I was I was, graduating and was looking for an initial job when the financial crisis was still in force, and it was super annoying because not only was there the competition of every other person in New York who wanted to work somewhere, it was all these people who'd been thrown out of their high-paid office jobs. Now they were desperate, so they would take anything for any amount of money, and they had on paper way more experience than me as a not even college graduate at the time, right? A person who was about to graduate. It was very stressful. I wouldn't wish it on a country. And it feels like everything is happening today, like a repeat of 2008. So nobody wakes up one day and tells you, nobody like pats you on the shoulder and says you're now in a recession. But again, in 2008, 2009, I was fighting for these shitty media jobs in New York City with nothing on my resume, a couple of blog posts, with people who were massively overqualified, literally competing with people who were laid off from like Lehman Brothers Bank, who were making zillions of dollars. And now they're competing for my entry level journalism job. And that's what seems to be ahead. So enjoy it, everybody. And I've been very diplomatic about the comments on YouTube saying I'm wrong and these tariffs are awesome. It's just not the right dance move. We've lost $12 trillion as a country and growing. $12 trillion gone. And you get these erratic random rally days like today based on no news, which to me is actually not a sign of strength. When you have a rally based on no news, that's just insiders stealing from each other, just fat cats giving each other money. It's not a real market. And so since I've invested, I've never been more anti-stock market. I'm to the to the fringes of Peter Schiff in terms of how pro-gold and anti-equities I am at the moment. So as everything collapses, what's left? I think you have Bitcoin. It's unfortunately too tied in with the Trump camp. That might cause some people around the world not to trust it, but it's still just software, so people should trust it. And I think that could do very well. And then gold. Gold is the original money. As JP Morgan once said, gold is money, everything else is credit. Everything else is credit you extend to other people. Even the dollar is ultimately credit that we extend to other nations. Like if you think of the US as a tribe of 350 million people, the dollar is the credit window we extend so that we can buy and sell stuff overseas. And as people realize that we're not going to buy their stuff, and as they realize that they're not going to be buying our stuff, you get this crazy collapse in value. And when Bitcoin came along, it was the biggest disruption in finance in a century. And I saw it early. And I had to live through every conceivable argument against it being laid out and then eventually being dispelled, right? And here it's like, unless my vision is totally clouded, every bone in my body tells me we're headed toward a Great Depression. Maybe not even great, maybe just a bullshit depression. But we're not getting this super abundant AI world right away. All the markers indicate that we're plunging into some self-orchestrated collapse, making ourselves irrelevant as China steams ahead. I mean, what they're good at are making microchips and basically producing everything. They've become a manufacturing country. And for us overnight to decide to switch away from that when we have no manufacturing base is such a misstep. It's like, are we in a war already? Is the problem that we're in a war with Russia and so we can't buy their stuff? Because I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. But for that reason, I'm out. And again, maybe I didn't make the maximum amount of money. I personally don't want to be in anything other than gold or Bitcoin. Right now, things are so bad. I can't picture sitting on some unprofitable tech company that loses money every quarter and thinking that I'm in a good place. That's not where I want to be. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
I agree. No, you're right. I think crypto and gold is the way. I mean, the stocks is just so unpredictable, especially right now. I mean, it's just.
Well, that's the thing is this stock market has become a casino where you tune in to Trump's latest tweets, and then from that you extrapolate: are things going to be better for exports or worse? Mm-hmm. And that's not a market. just relying on the president's crazy, unhinged tweets and his seems like increasingly schizophrenic battle with China, where it's just him. They're like, we're not in trade talks with the U.S. right now. He's like, things are going well, and they come out and say we're not in negotiations at all. So who's he negotiating with? Is he talking to himself? Uh, Biggest unforced error in history. That here, all this guy had to do was remind people that they shot at him, right? They tried to assassinate him. All he had to do is remind people of that occasionally, and how they made him a felon. But to retool the second largest economy in the world, to retool it overnight, and to have this guy Howard Lutnick, who's worked in refrigerated office rooms his whole life, in air-conditioned places, for him to say we're going to be in the factories soon and we're going to love it. No, fuck you. You need to be fired. You've wasted 3 or 4 months of people's time. You and Bessent need to be fired. And of course, nobody will accuse Trump of being responsible for this catastrophe. So it falls on his yes men. It falls on the people around him to be fired. And then Trump can apologize or not. He can say he was misled. But what a waste of time. People wanted the Epstein list. People wanted better crypto policy, which they got, to be fair. The one thing Trump has done is the Bitcoin reserve. But yeah, this is just total chaos. Absolute insanity. This tariff stuff, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen the day after tomorrow. And again, I'm increasingly convinced that my instincts here, just like I was right about Bitcoin, just like I was right about Ethereum, it's not that I'm right about gold. It's more that I'm right about the economy is it's a function jump worse than most people are acting right now. It's like we're currently in a semi-depression and people are acting like this is just business as usual when it's so not. They're saying starting within a few weeks, the shelves are going to dry up at Walmart and Target. It's going to be empty shelves. Most Americans aren't going to take well to that, to not being able to buy stuff anymore. It's going to terrify a lot of people. And they're going to wonder, is this sacrifice worth it? Who are we actually enriching while we make these sacrifices? Who's actually benefiting? Is it us or is it just other people? But yeah, all these headlines, they all seem insanely negative. 42% of mortgage refinance applications rejected. I mean, just think about what that means. It means about half the people who want to renegotiate their mortgage are not being allowed to do that by their bank. They're locked into the current rate. That's really bad. So yeah, my instincts tell me I'm doing 100% the right thing by tuning this market out. And we'll see in a few months' time if I'm right or not. But
You're right.
you think I'm right? We'll leave this one here. And you'll notice today I didn't check the market at all, right? Because I'm out. Yeah. So I don't check things.
And how less stressed are you?
Way less stressed. I mean, will gold ever drop to zero? It's very improbable. It would require them discovering these massive gold reserves to such an extent that the price would drop to nothing. That there's no scenario where that happens. Even if you find gold in the outer solar system, we're not at the point where you can actually lasso that and bring it back to Earth. We're at least 10 years away from that, if not more. So yeah, gold, Bitcoin, and what else? You're going to invest in companies that are actively unprofitable, companies that are bricked, as I call it, companies that are basically insolvent. If they have to import at a 200% rate or whatever it is, 145%, they have to import cheap Chinese stuff at that rate and then sell it. Nobody's going to buy it. And the whole thing just freezes up. You suddenly have empty shelves everywhere and mass sadness. And what do we have to show for it? A bunch of MAGA idiots saying we need to shoulder the pain. We need to hang on here. What are we hanging on for? Again, Howard Lutnick hasn't worked in a factory a day in his life. And he's got this vision for how we're going to all be in factories and stuff. It's a total misstep, total misread of what people want. And as of right now, it's going to be a serious recession. And then a lot of these people will be voted out during midterms.
I stocked up recently on some essentials because I didn't during COVID and screwed myself over. So not a lot of things, but just some things that I'm like, all right, I'm going to need this. So.
Yeah, I think this time around, you're going to need money when people realize the stock market is... the stock market is something that doesn't work well when you have a president who's hostile toward it. We've never had this before. So yeah, you got to make sure you have money, and then essentials, I guess, like things made overseas are going to cost more. So you already have people buying second laptops and stuff, and thinking ahead. What kind of shit is that? Why do we have to lower our quality of life so that a couple of boomers in the White House can congratulate themselves on improving these made up economic benchmarks? These made up benchmarks that don't actually relate to our lives. And they're going to tell themselves they're doing a good job as everything is collapsing. It's totally crazy. But again, we cover it as we see it here at Fulcrum, and some sites and some personalities are cheering this as such a great thing. And I think the verdict is in that it's not a great thing. And we don't want to cheerlead here. We want to do journalism. And so as this recession intensifies, we'll cover it. We'll cover it as it happens. And it's already happening, So that's it, everybody. Any final thoughts?
No.
No?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for visiting me in my new locale.
Yes.
Again, we saw Roger Stone earlier today. Did not talk to him, though. He might want to distance himself. I wonder what he's thinking about, if he knows how big a fuck up Trump's tariff thing is. Like, what else has Trump done? He's made this his fixation. If he had done a bunch of other stuff, and like if there were people, people colonizing Mars and going back to the moon and stuff, I'd say, all right, maybe I'm just fixating too much on his economic policies. There's nothing else. He's made this his whole vision, dismantling the U.S. economy after centuries of us building up what we have. Doesn't make any sense.